Shall not prevent them
seeing LAPD get it wrong.
Continuamos viendo a LAPD haciendo las cosas equivocadamente.
And here we are again.
Y aquí estamos otra vez.
How long will it take for you to get it right?
The question is, if 2 days before Christmas, would you have gone into a shopping center in Bel Air, Beverly Hills, and started shooting like that and not consider whether high-end shoppers might be hurt? The fact that the value of a life was not considered is disturbing.
Without knowing all the details on the surface of it, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem to pass the sniff test. It looks like he's doing whatever he likes. We've had to go through vaccination protocols and lockdowns for such a long time, and he swans in and can pretty much do what he likes because he's the world's best tennis player.
I don't understand why there's such a big fuss about it. You just let him play. You know, of course, keeping in mind that he must adhere to all the other regulations that we have.
The judges seem to have no understanding of public requirements in respect of Djokovic. He's a selfish, non-vaccinated, and I think he strays from the truth and the sort of understanding in respect of COVID that all us Victorians have lived through, and I think he should be sent back on the next plane, and his father should have a good word with him.
No, I think that this tournament is much bigger than any one person. It is much bigger than any one person. And, you know, I think that Rafa and a few others have made the position very, very clear. This tournament is much bigger than any one person. It's a Grand Slam. It's the biggest thing in tennis in the first quarter of the year, every year. It's a massive event for us, and it's bigger than any one person, whether that be, you know, in the court or on the court. The issue of who gets into the country and their vaccination status, though, is not a matter for state governments. I don't issue visas. The Commonwealth Government does that. This is a very active process. As you know, there was a court ruling last evening. Whether that's appealed is a matter for the Commonwealth Government.
Lawyers for Donald Trump asked a federal judge on Monday to throw out a series of lawsuits brought by Democratic lawmakers and 2 Capitol Police officers over injuries from the January 6th riot in the first major test over whether the former president can be held liable for the deadly assault on the Capitol. Trump's lawyer, Jesse Binnall, argued that Trump was immune from the lawsuits because he was acting within the scope of his official presidential duties.
It's an interesting and thorny case.
Reuters legal correspondent Jan Wolf.
There's various forms of immunity at play here. Trump was sitting president on January 6th, and he enjoys some immunity for acts that he did as president.
But the judge hearing the case questioned why Trump remained silent for nearly 2 hours during the riot, wondering aloud whether Trump, quote, plausibly agreed with the conduct of the Capitol rioters. Trump was already impeached by the House and acquitted by the Senate on the charge of inciting the Capitol riot. A lawsuit filed by Democratic Representative Eric Swalwell makes similar claims of incitement against Trump's closest allies, who also spoke at the January 6th rally, including Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump Jr., and Republican Congressman Mo Brooks.
One issue here is whether Mo Brooks, as a defendant, has any immunity. A law called the Westfall Act gives federal employees immunity from lawsuits over actions they take as government employees. And Brooks is arguing that he was acting as a government employee and is immune from these claims. And the counter argument is that, no, he was basically engaging in like campaign activity and he shouldn't have any sort of immunity from this lawsuit.
Aside from immunity, Trump and his co-defendants have argued that the remarks preceding the January 6th attack were free speech protected by the First Amendment.
Russia and the United States gave no sign that they had narrowed their differences on Ukraine and wider European security in talks in Geneva on Monday, as Moscow repeated demands that Washington says it cannot accept. Russia has gathered troops near Ukraine's border while demanding that the U.S.-led NATO alliance promise not to admit Ukraine or expand further into what Moscow sees as its backyard. Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybkov said there was a great disparity at the talks between the U.S. and Russia and that the two sides have almost opposite views on what needs to be done. State Department spokesman Ned Price said the U.S. was firm in pushing back security proposals that are non-starters for the United States.
We will not, for example, allow anyone to slam close NATO's open door policy, which has always been central to the NATO alliance. We also will not forego bilateral cooperation with sovereign states that wish to work with the United States.
8 years after Russia seized the Crimean Peninsula from Ukraine, Washington and Kiev say the 100,000 troops now near Ukraine's border could be preparing another invasion. Russia on Monday denied any such plans.
All the actions on the combat training activities for troops are held on our territory. There are no reasons to fear some sort of escalation scenario in this regard.
The buildup of troops near Ukraine has raised U.S.-Russia tensions to their highest level since the end of the Cold War. Despite the lack of obvious progress in Monday's talks, the atmosphere between the two sides appeared cordial. Deputy U.S. Secretary of State Wendy Sherman called it a frank and forthright discussion, while her Russian counterpart said it was difficult but professional.